The Bonds That Bind. In a small town nestled in the rolling hills of the Eastern Cape lived two brothers, Themba and Sizwe. Born into a family of farmers, their childhood was filled with long days under the African sun, herding cattle and exploring the vast, untamed wilderness around them. Despite their humble beginnings, the brothers were inseparable and shared dreams of a brighter future. Themba, the elder brother, was the responsible one. Calm and calculated, he carried the weight of their family's legacy on his shoulders. Sizwe, on the other hand, was free-spirited and creative, often dreaming of a life beyond the farm, sketching wildlife or writing poems inspired by the rhythm of African life. As they grew older, the differences in their aspirations became apparent. Themba saw their land as their heritage, determined to transform it into a thriving enterprise. Sizwe, however, wanted to leave, imagining a life filled with art and culture in the bustling streets of Cape Town. Their bond was tested when tragedy struck. A severe drought ravaged their village, threatening their livelihood. With their parents unable to recover, the brothers were faced with an impossible choice: stay and fight for the family farm, or sell the land and start anew. Themba was resolute. "This is our home," he said. "We can't abandon it." But Sizwe, with his restless heart, argued, "Sometimes, to honor the past, we must seek a future elsewhere." Conflict simmered, and the once unbreakable bond between the brothers seemed on the verge of collapse. Sizwe eventually left for Cape Town, leaving Themba behind. They stopped speaking, each consumed by their path and their pain. Years passed. Themba turned the farm into a sustainable enterprise, using innovative methods he learned from neighboring communities. Meanwhile, Sizwe became a renowned artist, his work inspired by the landscapes and memories of his youth. One day, Sizwe returned to the farm, his heart heavy with regret and longing. He brought with him a painting, a vibrant depiction of their childhood under the African sun. It was a gift for Themba, a bridge to reconnect. Seeing the painting, Themba's stoic demeanor softened. The brothers spoke through the night, sharing stories of their struggles, triumphs, and the memories that bound them. They realized that, though their paths had diverged, their love for each other and their shared roots would always unite them. Together, they decided to use their talents to uplift their community. Themba's farming knowledge and Sizwe's artistry became a beacon of hope, inspiring others to dream while remaining grounded in their heritage. In the end, the story of Themba and Sizwe became a legend in their village, a tale of brotherhood, resilience, and the unyielding power of family. Months passed since Sizwe's return, and the brothers' collaboration began transforming their small town. Themba's sustainable farming methods brought new life to the community, while Sizwe's murals and sculptures turned the once forgotten village into a cultural hub. Together they called their initiative Ukanyo, meaning light in Xhosa, symbolizing hope and progress. Their work attracted attention far beyond the borders of their town. Visitors, journalists, and investors began pouring in, intrigued by the story of two brothers who had turned their differences into a shared strength. Ukanyo became a place where people came not only to see art and farming innovation, but to learn from the synergy of tradition and creativity. The storm within. But success came with challenges. As Ukanyo grew, so did the pressures on Themba and Sizwe. For the first time since their reconciliation, cracks began to reappear in their partnership. Themba worried about sustainability. "We're growing too fast," he warned one evening, looking over the financial reports. "The land can only give so much. We need to slow down." Sizwe, ever the dreamer, disagreed. "This is our moment, Themba. We can't let hesitation hold us back. The world is watching." The old tension resurfaced. Themba's cautious pragmatism clashed with Sizwe's ambitious vision. Meetings became arguments, and their shared dreams seemed at risk of unraveling. One stormy night, an intense argument erupted. Sizwe accused Themba of being stuck in the past, while Themba accused Sizwe of losing sight of their roots. Both felt misunderstood, as though the bond they'd rebuilt was slipping away once more. "I left once," Sizwe shouted. "Don't make me leave again." "You think you're the only one who sacrificed?" Themba retorted. "This land, this community, it's my life's work." In the heat of the moment, neither realized the storm outside had worsened. Torrential rain flooded the nearby river, threatening the fields and homes. A knock at the door interrupted them, a neighbor crying for help. A trial by nature. Rushing out into the rain, the brothers set aside their argument. Together they organized the community, moving livestock to higher ground, evacuating families, and using the resources they had built through Ukanyo to minimize the damage. In the chaos, Themba and Sizwe found themselves side by side, leading their people. Themba's quick thinking saved the fields from complete ruin, while Sizwe inspired the villagers, rallying them with his unwavering spirit. By dawn, the storm had passed. Exhausted but relieved, the brothers stood together, surveying the damage. Though the village had suffered, it was clear that their combined efforts had prevented a catastrophe. A new vision. The storm became a turning point. Themba and Sizwe realized their differences weren't a weakness. They were a strength. Themba's caution balanced Sizwe's ambition, while Sizwe's creativity complemented Themba's practicality. Sitting under the morning sun, they made a pact. "We'll move forward," Themba said, "but at a pace the land and people can sustain." "And we'll dream bigger," Sizwe added, "but always with our roots in mind." Together they reimagined Ukanyo. They expanded their programs to teach neighboring communities about sustainable farming, art, and entrepreneurship. They created a space for young people to explore their talents, ensuring the next generation could build on their legacy. A legacy of light. Years later, Ukanyo became a beacon for the entire region, a place where people came to learn, create, and grow. The brothers' story was etched into the hearts of all who visited, a tale of resilience, reconciliation, and the enduring power of family. Sitting on the porch of their childhood home, Themba and Sizwe watched the sun set over the hills they had once explored as boys. "Do you think we've done enough?" Themba asked. Sizwe smiled, holding up a new sketch, a vision for a school they could build together. "Enough? We're just getting started." And as the last rays of sunlight bathed their land, the brothers knew that their bond, like their dream, would endure for generations to come. Years turned into decades. Ukanyo flourished, not just as a community initiative but as a movement that inspired countless others across South Africa. The brothers, now older, found themselves at the helm of something much larger than they ever anticipated. Their bond was stronger than ever, but new challenges awaited as Ukanyo began to transition into the hands of the next generation. The next generation. Themba's son, Thando, had inherited his father's pragmatism and deep respect for the land. However, unlike his father, Thando was eager to bring in cutting-edge technology to transform farming even further. He spoke of drones, AI-assisted irrigation, and renewable energy-powered systems. Sizwe's daughter Layana had her father's artistic spark but was also a fierce advocate for social justice. She dreamed of using art as a tool for activism, addressing issues like inequality, environmental degradation, and the preservation of indigenous culture. Though Thando and Layana worked well together, their visions sometimes clashed. Thando's focus on efficiency and modernization felt at odds with Layana's emphasis on cultural preservation and community engagement. Their debates mirrored the arguments that once divided their fathers. "They're just like us," Sizwe said one evening, watching the two young leaders argue passionately during a community meeting. Themba chuckled. "Let's hope they figure it out faster than we did." A new rivalry. The situation escalated when a major international corporation offered to partner with Ukanyo. The deal promised to bring significant funding, advanced technology, and global recognition. Thando was eager to accept, seeing it as a way to solidify Ukanyo's future. "This could revolutionize everything we're doing," he argued during a family meeting. "Think of how many more people we could help." But Layana was skeptical. "They don't care about our community or our values. They'll exploit us for profit and leave us worse off in the long run." Themba and Sizwe watched silently as their children argued, memories of their own disagreements flooding back. Finally, Sizwe spoke. "This is your decision to make. But remember, Ukanyo was built on compromise and collaboration. If you let division take root, everything we've built will crumble." The turning point. Determined to find common ground, Thando and Layana spent weeks researching the corporation and gathering input from the community. They discovered that while the corporation's technology could benefit Ukanyo, their terms would undermine the values of sustainability and self-reliance that the brothers had worked so hard to instill. Together, Thando and Layana proposed an alternative. They would create their own technology partnership, sourcing local talent and resources to develop innovative solutions tailored to their community's needs. The proposal was ambitious, but it embodied the spirit of Ocaño, blending innovation with tradition, progress with preservation. With the support of their fathers and the community, Thando and Liana launched the initiative, proving that collaboration and compromise could lead to even greater success. A celebration of legacy. On the 50th anniversary of Ocaño's founding, the village hosted a grand celebration. People from across the country gathered to honor the brothers who had started it all. Themba and Sizwe, now old and gray, sat side by side, watching as their children and grandchildren carried their vision forward. During the ceremony, Liana unveiled a massive mural she had painted on the side of the community center. It depicted Themba and Sizwe as young men, standing together beneath the African sun, their faces filled with determination and hope. Around them were images of farmers, artists, children, and wildlife, symbolizing the legacy they had created. Thando took the stage to address the crowd. Ocaño isn't just a place, it's an idea. It's proof that when we come together, when we honor our past while embracing the future, we can achieve anything. This is the legacy of our fathers, and it's a legacy we'll carry forward. The crowd erupted in applause, and as the sun set over the hills, Themba turned to Sizwe. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Themba asked, his voice tinged with emotion. Sizwe smiled, his eyes shining. "Every day. And I know we've only just begun." As the brothers sat together, surrounded by their family and community, they knew that Ocaño's light would shine for generations to come, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the enduring bonds of family. As Ocaño entered its 6th decade, its reputation continued to grow, becoming a symbol of unity and progress not only in South Africa but across the continent. The transition to the next generation had been a success, but as with all legacies, new challenges began to emerge. A new threat. One evening, Thando and Liana received troubling news. A mining corporation had purchased land near the village, planning to extract valuable minerals from the surrounding hills. Though the land was technically outside the borders of Ocaño, the mining operation posed a significant threat to the environment and the community's way of life. "This is worse than before," Thando said, pacing back and forth. "They won't just bring pollution, they'll disrupt everything: the water supply, the land, the people." Liana, ever the activist, immediately began organizing protests and gathering support from local and international allies. "We can't let this happen. We've fought too hard to build this place. We'll make sure everyone hears our voices." Themba and Sizwe, though older and less active in Ocaño's daily affairs, were deeply concerned. The mining threat felt personal, a direct assault on everything they had worked to protect. The elders step in. One afternoon, as tensions rose and meetings became more heated, Themba called a gathering of the village elders, including Sizwe. "The fight ahead is not just about the land," Themba began, his voice steady but firm. "It's about who we are and what we stand for." Sizwe nodded. "But we need to fight smart, not just loud. Protests are important, yes, but we need to engage on every level: legal, social, and even spiritual." The elders agreed, forming a council to guide the younger generation. Together they crafted a multi-pronged approach. 1. Legal action. Thando led efforts to investigate the mining company's operations. Working with environmental lawyers, they uncovered evidence that the mining activities would violate multiple environmental regulations. 2. Cultural resistance. Liana used her art to rally people around the cause, creating murals and organizing events that highlighted the spiritual and historical significance of the land. 3. Community mobilization. The village came together to demonstrate their unity, hosting cultural festivals that drew attention to their plight and strengthened their resolve. A global movement. News of Ocaño's struggle spread far and wide. Activists, journalists, and environmentalists from across the world began to take notice. Social media campaigns brought the story to millions, and donations poured in to support the village's legal battle. But the mining corporation was not easily deterred. They used their vast resources to launch counter-campaigns, spreading misinformation and attempting to divide the community with false promises of jobs and development. "This is harder than anything we've faced," Thando admitted one night, his voice heavy with frustration. Sizwe placed a hand on his shoulder. "Harder, yes, but not impossible. Remember, We've faced storms before. The breaking point. As the legal battle dragged on, the corporation escalated its efforts, bringing heavy machinery into the area. The sight of bulldozers moving closer to the village sparked outrage. Thando and Liana, along with hundreds of villagers, staged a peaceful sit-in at the edge of the mining site. It was during this sit-in that Themba, despite his age, arrived to join them. His presence, along with Sizwe's, inspired the community to stand firm. "This land raised us," Themba said to the crowd. "It's more than soil and stone. It's our history, our future, and we will not abandon it." Victory through unity. The turning point came when a team of environmental scientists, hired with the funds raised by Ukanyo's supporters, released a damning report about the irreversible damage the mining operation would cause. Combined with the mounting public pressure and the community's unyielding resistance, the government was forced to intervene. After months of struggle, the mining corporation was ordered to cease operations and leave the area. The victory was bittersweet. Though the land was safe, the battle had left the community exhausted. A new beginning. In the aftermath, Ukanyo began to heal. The community decided to use the victory as a catalyst for further growth. Thando and Liana led efforts to establish a permanent environmental research center in the village, ensuring that future generations could continue to protect the land. Themba and Sizwe, now content to watch from the sidelines, felt an overwhelming sense of pride as they saw their children and grandchildren carry the torch. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Themba turned to Sizwe. "You were right, you know," he said, his voice soft. "About what?" Sizwe asked with a smile. "That sometimes, to honor the past, we have to fight for the future." Sizwe laughed. "And you were right, too, that the land is our greatest teacher. It teaches us patience, resilience, and the importance of standing together." As they sat together, watching the next generation prepare for the work ahead, the brothers knew that Ukanyo's light would never fade. Years after the mining victory, Ukanyo had become more than a symbol of resilience. It had grown into a thriving ecosystem of innovation, culture, and environmental preservation. The Environmental Research Center, now fully operational, attracted students and researchers from across the world. The community thrived, but with growth came new challenges, and the story of Ukanyo continued to unfold. A hidden struggle. While the village seemed united, cracks began to form beneath the surface. As the younger generation stepped into leadership roles, disagreements emerged over the direction Ukanyo should take. Thando, now a prominent voice in sustainable development, believed in scaling Ukanyo's model across the region. "We've created something powerful here," he argued at a community meeting. "If we don't expand, we're limiting our impact." Liana, on the other hand, was cautious. "Growth is important, but we can't lose the essence of who we are. Ukanyo isn't just a model, it's a home, a community. We can't risk spreading ourselves too thin." The debates grew heated, echoing the old arguments between Themba and Sizwe. The elders watched silently, reluctant to interfere but aware of the tensions brewing. The call of the past. One day, Liana came across an old journal belonging to her grandfather, Sizwe. The journal was filled with sketches, poems, and reflections from the early days of Ukanyo. Among the pages, she found an entry that resonated deeply. "Progress is like a river. It must flow, but if it moves too fast, it erodes the banks. If it moves too slow, it stagnates. Balance is the key." Liana shared the journal with Thando, hoping it might bridge their differences. As they read through Sizwe's words together, they began to see their debates in a new light, not as opposing forces, but as parts of a larger whole. A unifying vision. Inspired by their grandparents' legacy, Thando and Liana proposed a new plan. Ukanyo would remain the heart of their work, but they would establish satellite projects in other communities, tailored to each area's unique needs. These projects would focus on sustainability, art, and community empowerment, all grounded in the principles that had made Ukanyo a success. The community embraced the idea, and the first satellite project was launched in a neighboring village. It was a collaborative effort involving local leaders, artists, and farmers. The success of the project validated their approach, proving that growth didn't have to come at the expense of identity. The legacy endures. As Ukanyo's influence spread, Themba and Sizwe found themselves reflecting more on their journey. Now, well into their twilight years, they decided to document their story in a book, co-written with Tando and Layana. The book, titled Under the African Sun, The Story of Ukanyo, became a bestseller, inspiring people across the globe. It was a heartfelt account of two brothers who had overcome their differences to build something extraordinary, and the generations who carried their vision forward. During a book launch event in Cape Town, Sizwe stood before the crowd, leaning on his cane but speaking with unwavering passion. "This story isn't just about us," he said. "It's about everyone who believes in the power of family, community, and the land we share. It's a reminder that even in our differences, we can find strength. Ukanyo isn't just a place, it's a way of living." The applause was thunderous, and as Themba and Sizwe embraced on stage, it was clear that their legacy had become immortal. A new dawn. In the years that followed, Ukanyo became a network of thriving communities, each unique but united by shared values. Tando and Liana continued to lead with the wisdom of their ancestors, always striving to balance growth with preservation. On a quiet morning, as the sun rose over the hills, Themba and Sizwe sat together on the porch of their childhood home. "Do you think they'll be all right without us?" Themba asked, watching as Tando and Liana worked with a group of villagers nearby. Sizwe chuckled. "They've got our stubbornness, our vision, and each other. They'll be more than all right." Themba nodded, a peaceful smile spreading across his face. "Then I think we've done enough." As the brothers sat together, watching the next generation carry their dream forward, they knew that the light of Ukanyo would shine forever, a beacon of hope for all who believed in the power of unity and the enduring bonds of family.